Question. Hello, Kim. In recent years, my life has been so unlucky compared to my life before I found Ascended Master teachings. Even though I solved many separate selves, I'm aware that some unlucky situations are made by myself, but some situations are just the wrong place and wrong time. I never doubt the path because I experienced some attunement. Am I in the state that we can call a karmic return state? I'd like to hear your advice. Well, yes, that's a very strong possibility. I can see from my own experience and from many people I met on the spiritual path that it's like you feel like your life was going, fairly smoothly, and then you discover Ascended Master teachings or another spiritual teaching. And all of a sudden all these things start happening. And you can't understand why. And what comes into play here is partly an unrealistic expectation that's really a subconscious self. Because we have this, as I've explained, we have in past lifetimes often been exposed to this trauma. And in order to deal with trauma, we create these subconscious selves. And some of these selves might project at us that if we find the right spiritual teaching or the right guru, nothing bad should happen to us. There are many, for example, Christians that believe if you're a good Christian, nothing bad should happen to you. And that's, of course, a completely unrealistic expectation. And it's unrealistic for two reasons. And that is that, first of all, you're on Earth. It's a messy planet. It's an unnatural planet, but all kinds of things are happening here. And as I have said before, free will is free will. You can be a good person, and you can say that as a good person, you don't have personal karma that makes somebody attack you. Right. But you could still, as the person says, be in the wrong place at the wrong time, because here's a person who is looking to attack somebody and you happen to be the one that walks into their headlights. And so things can always happen. But the other thing is that we can have this unrealistic expectation that if you are in the right spiritual teaching, nothing bad should happen to you. Because somehow you should be protected, for example, by the Ascended Masters. They should protect you. And mind you, the Masters do protect you. But there are certain things they don't protect you from because they are part of your growth process. So what I'm saying is this. If you have this unrealistic expectation, what can happen is that before you found an Ascended Master teaching, you weren't really noticing a pattern of what was happening to you. There might still have been things happening in your life, you just didn't really think about it. But if you have this unrealistic expectation, then once you go into an Ascended Master teaching, you start talking about karma and this and that, you can say, well, now nothing bad should happen to me. So all of a sudden you'll notice, oh, this bad thing happened, that bad thing happened, that bad thing happened. And now you're in your mind building this, because of the unrealistic expectation, you're building this question of, how could this happen? How could the Masters let this happen to me now that I'm in the teachings? And so part of it is just an unrealistic expectation, where you're suddenly noticing things you weren't noticing before, because before you didn't put them in any context saying this shouldn't have happened, it just happened. But now you're thinking it shouldn't have happened, and why is it happening? So you're noticing things, that's one thing. But the other thing is that it can actually happen that after you find Ascended Master teachings, you have more things happen to you. I've seen this in myself and others, that all of a sudden it's like things intensify in your life in general. And it's not just outer things that are happening, it's also in your psychology. And that is because when you find an Ascended Master teaching, you subconsciously decide, oh, now I have found the key to my growth. And I wasted all this time before I found this teaching, so now I really want to speed up the process. I want to grow as fast as I possibly can so I can catch up to where I would have been if I had found the teachings earlier. So I've talked about in several videos, we have a life plan that we make before we come into embodiment. And the life plan could very well involve, I mean, if you have found the Ascended Master teachings, your life plan does involve you finding the teachings. And what can happen is, first of all, you can say, let's say your divine plan said you were ideally meant to find the teachings when you were 20 years old, but you find them when you're 30 years old. So then you can have a sense, oh, I'm behind. If I just found the teachings 10 years ago, I would have made more progress, I would have been at a higher level. So I want to get up to that higher level as quickly as possible. That's one possibility. And that's why you're saying, give me a return on my karma as quickly as possible so I can work through it. But the other possibility is that you actually were meant to find the teachings when you were 30, but you still feel like, oh, I could have made more progress if I had the teachings earlier. So again, you are saying to yourself subconsciously, maybe halfway consciously, I want to catch up. I want to make progress as quickly as possible. And so it's possible that you can decide that you want to intensify the return of your karma so you can work through it more quickly. Because as I've said, a divine plan, a life plan has two phases. There's the personal growth process, and then there's the process where we can start giving our gift to the world because we've overcome a lot of our personal karma and our personal psychology. So therefore we can say, now that I found the teachings, I want to, as quickly as possible, get to the point, get through the work phase so I can get to the point where I'm giving my gift. And that's perfectly legitimate. I mean, I think that happens to many Ascended Master students. Myself, certainly I can see it. I was at a point, I really found the teachings in 1984, and I thought I should have found them earlier. I thought, why didn't I find them earlier? But I really decided, I want to make as quick progress as I possibly can, come what may. You know, and that's why I took some drastic steps, like I found the teachings when I was in Denmark. I decided to move my family, my first wife and I decided together, move my family to the United States to be at the headquarters of the Summit Lighthouse, where we thought we would make much more progress, and quite frankly we did, because by going through all of these challenges. But I can also see that the first years, both after I found the teachings, but also after I moved to the US, were very intense, and there were many outer things that happened that you could look at this and say, oh, why did this happen? Why did this have to happen? Was I just in the wrong place at the right time? Why was I in the wrong place at the wrong time? Why did this happen? You know, and I look back at it today and I see two reasons. First of all, the working through my karma, but also, as I said before, ego pummeling. Because by all of these things happening, it's like your ego can't maintain its sense that it's in control. And quite frankly, if you look at this, I talk about this, you are going through the work phase, where you're getting ready for your mission. But what does that mean? It means resolving psychology, as I always talk about. So what you're really saying is, I want to resolve my psychology, so I'm willing to have whatever needs to happen, so that I can be challenged to resolve my psychology. And that can mean outer things, because look at it this way, none of us are brought up thinking we have to resolve psychology. So what is it going to take for us to come to the point where we consciously acknowledge the need? Sometimes it takes an outer event that we can't deny, which creates a reaction, a psychological reaction in us, and there comes that point where we shift and say, why am I reacting this way? Could I react differently? Well, I'm reacting this way because something in my psychology. Could I resolve that so that whatever happens I can be more at peace with it, or I can use it more constructively? So you see what I'm saying? It's quite common. You found Ascended Master teachings, or you find another spiritual teaching that's part of your divine plan, and you have a very intense period where you're simply working through one thing after another. But you can greatly shorten that period by realizing that everything that happens on the outer is an opportunity to see something in your psychology and resolve it so you get over it. Because I can also say from my personal experience and watching many other people, if you don't make this shift, if you have an outer event happen and you don't look at what is there in my psychology that I need to resolve, then you will have another event of the same kind happen. And you will keep getting that same outer event or outer thing pushing on you until you say, oh, what's the lesson I need to learn? What's the psychology I need to resolve here? Why is the universe telling me the same thing over and over? Well, it's obviously because I didn't get it the first time. And I can assure you that once you make that shift and you start looking at what's the lesson here, what do I need to overcome my psychology, all of a sudden these things stop happening to you. I've seen this in myself, I've seen it in many other people. You are getting the lesson, the hard knocks. You are in the school of hard knocks. When you're not seeing every outer event as an opportunity to resolve psychology, you're in the school of hard knocks. And the hard knocks are going to keep coming until you stop looking for outer causes, stop looking for inner causes, and say, what can I change in myself to change my outer situation? Instead of going the other way around thinking you can change something out there. When you become willing to look at yourself and you work through the unresolved psychology, the outer events are going to stop happening. Or even if they do happen, you're barely going to notice it.